"Hey," she said, flashing that smile that made my chest tighten. "You're new here, right?" "Yeah," I replied, trying not to stare too obviously. "I'm Alex." "Nice to meet you, Alex. I'm Emma." Her eyes lingered just a second too long, but I didn't mind. We started walking together, talking about the usual small stuff, coffee spots, favorite music, random weekend plans. I caught myself laughing more than usual. "Something about her felt effortless, like she belonged in my life already. You always wear that look, like you're planning the world?" she asked, suddenly tilting her head. "I guess I just think a lot," I said. "Trying to figure out my next move, you know?" "You'll figure it out," she said softly. "I can tell you're the kind of person who doesn't settle for less." Her words hit me in a way no casual compliment should. I laughed nervously. "You make it sound like I'm some kind of hero." "No," she said, shaking her head. "More like someone who deserves better. Someone real." I didn't know why, but I felt an immediate trust toward her, like I could tell her anything. That evening, I met my friend Mark at a nearby cafe. "So, how is the new girl?" he asked. "She's different," I admitted. "I don't know, there's something about her. She just clicks." Mark raised an eyebrow. "Clicks? Alex, be careful. You get infatuated too quickly." I know, I said, brushing it off. "But it's not like that. She's special." The next few days were a blur of texts and short calls. She always seemed genuinely interested in my thoughts, my day, my stupid little problems. "I like talking to you," she said one night. "You actually listen." "I listen because I care," I replied. "You do," she said almost shyly. "And that's rare." One afternoon, we went for a walk along the river. She held my hand lightly but deliberately, letting our fingers brush. "Alex," she whispered, "promise me something?" "Anything," I said without hesitation, "that no matter what happens, you'll always be honest with me. No secrets." "I promise," I said, feeling a thrill run through me. Her smile widened. "Good. I like knowing I can trust you." I felt my heart skip a beat. I had never met anyone like her. Everything seemed perfect. I started imagining our future, casual weekends, quiet nights, maybe even something bigger, something lasting. "Alex," she said softly, leaning close. "I think we could be amazing together." "I think so too," I said, surprised by how easily the words left my mouth. That was the moment I decided I wanted her in my life, no questions asked. I didn't notice Mark's warning echoing in my head, didn't see the small, possessive way she tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, or the way her eyes occasionally lingered with intensity. None of that mattered. All I knew was that I was lucky to meet Emma, lucky to feel this spark, lucky to imagine a future I hadn't dared to dream before. And when she whispered, "Promise me you'll never let me go," I promised, unaware that my life was about to change in ways I couldn't yet see. "Hey, you're late again," I said when she showed up, hair slightly messy, eyes darting. "Sorry," Emma said, smiling faintly. "Had to finish something at work." "You know how it is?" I nodded, but the small hesitation in her voice made my stomach twist. "You're always busy lately." "Late nights? Just meetings," she said, shrugging. "Nothing important." I wanted to believe her, but something didn't sit right. Later, I met my colleague Jason for lunch. "You seem distracted today," he said. "Everything okay?" "I don't know," I admitted. "It's Emma. I'm not sure I understand her sometimes." "Classic early-stage love paranoia," Jason teased. "But seriously, trust your gut. People aren't always what they seem." I laughed, brushing it off. "I know. Maybe I'm just overthinking." That night, I called Emma. "You're working late again?" "Yeah," she said, voice casual. "Big project coming up. But I'll be home soon. Do you want me to come over?" I asked. "No, don't worry. I'll be fine," she said, a hint of irritation slipping through. I frowned. "Are you hiding something from me?" "Hiding? Alex, why would I hide anything from you?" Her tone was soft, but carried a sharp edge. "I don't know," I said quickly. "It's just a feeling," she sighed, a small, almost condescending laugh in her voice. "You're overthinking." "I promise." "You really need to relax," I forced a smile. "Okay, I trust you." But my mind couldn't stop racing. A few days later, I met my friend Liam at a cafe. "She's changing," I said. "I can feel it." "Small things." "Tiny lies, maybe." "Like what?" Liam asked. She says she's at work, but sometimes she's not. Or she's vague about her plans. And her charm. It feels calculated. Liam shook his head. You're opening yourself up too much. Just be careful. Listen to your instincts. I am, I said, though uncertainty lingered. The next evening, I decided to confront her gently. Emma, can I ask you something? Of course, she said, tilting her head. Have you ever felt like you couldn't tell me everything? Her eyes flickered briefly, just a second, then she smiled. Alex, I tell you everything that matters. You know that, right? I guess, I murmured. It's just, I want to feel like there's nothing between us. Nothing at all, she said, leaning closer. You're important to me. More than you know. Her words soothed me, but I couldn't shake the feeling. A week later, I was at her apartment helping with a small task when her phone buzzed. I glanced at it accidentally. A message preview flashed. Don't worry, he'll never know. See you tonight. I blinked, heart pounding. I didn't know who it was from, what it meant. She turned around before I could process anything. Everything okay? She asked innocently. Yeah, I said, swallowing. Just thought I saw something. You're imagining things, she said lightly, her smile effortless. Don't overthink it, Alex. I nodded, but inside a cold knot formed. Something wasn't right. Later that night, I called Liam. I think I saw something on her phone, I whispered. I don't know what it means. Stay calm, he said firmly. Don't confront her yet. Observe. Let things reveal themselves. I hung up, staring at the ceiling. My trust in her had shifted slightly, imperceptibly at first. I wanted to believe her, but that message, it planted a seed of doubt I couldn't shake. I lay in bed, thinking about all her smiles, her words, the way she touched my hand. Were they real? Or just another mask? For the first time, I wondered if the girl I thought I knew was hiding a side I couldn't yet see. I walked into the cafe, expecting to see Emma sitting at our usual table. Instead, she was laughing, too loudly, too easily, with a man I didn't recognize. His arm brushed hers casually, and she leaned in, smiling in a way that made my stomach twist. Alex! Over here! She called when she noticed me, but her smile faltered ever so slightly. I approached slowly. Hey, who's this? I asked, my voice steadier than I felt. This is Ryan, she said smoothly. He's a friend from work. A friend? I repeated, my gaze narrowing on the ease of their interaction. Yes, just a friend, she insisted, reaching for my hand. You're imagining things, really. Ryan smiled politely. Nice to meet you, Alex. Emma talks about you all the time. I forced a smile, but the heat in my chest wouldn't calm. That's nice of her, Emma laughed lightly. See? Nothing to worry about. I tried to convince myself, but every glance, every laugh they shared screamed something different. You're really close, I said quietly. Too close, maybe, she tilted her head, eyes sharp. Alex, are you serious right now? You trust me, don't you? I do, I said, though my voice wavered. Then why does it feel like you're hiding? Or flirting? Flirting? She said, eyebrows raised. Alex, come on. You know me better than that. Ryan's just a friend. Don't overthink it. I wanted to believe her, but doubt crept in like a shadow I couldn't shake. Later that week, I spoke with my boss, Mr. Grant, about a project. You seem distracted, Alex, he said. Everything okay? I don't know, I admitted. Personal stuff. Don't let it affect your work, he warned. Focus. Clarity helps more than dwelling on emotions. His words hit me harder than I expected. I knew he was right, but the image of Emma laughing with Ryan haunted me. That evening, I called her. Emma, can we talk? Sure, she said. What about? About Ryan, I saw you today. She laughed softly, almost mockingly. Alex, you're imagining things. We're just talking, really. You're letting jealousy cloud your judgment. I just don't like how close you two are, I said, trying to keep calm. It makes me feel left out. Emma's voice softened, almost patronizing. Alex, I would never do anything to hurt you. You have to trust me. Your doubts are unnecessary. I do trust you, I said, though the words felt hollow. I need honesty. You have it. Always, she said, brushing the tension off. Don't ruin something beautiful with suspicion. I hung up, but the anger and confusion churned inside me. How could I feel hurt and suspicious while knowing she sounded sincere? A few days later, I saw her at the office party, laughing again. this time with Ryan in a way that made my chest tighten. She caught my eye, smiled innocently, and mouthed, "Nothing to worry about." I walked away, heart pounding, shaking my head. That's when it hit me. The promises she made, the closeness we shared, they felt emptier than I'd realized. Her words, once comforting, now rang hollow. I whispered to myself in the empty hallway, "Am I overreacting? Or is something really wrong?" I didn't know, but one thing was clear. My trust in her had been shaken, and the perfect beginning I believed in was already cracking at the edges. I wasn't supposed to see it. Not like this. I was at her apartment, helping her set up some files for work, when her phone buzzed on the table. Normally, I wouldn't have looked, but something made me glance at the screen. And there it was, a message from Ryan. "Can't wait to see you tonight. Alone." My chest felt like it had been punched. I froze, my hands trembled. I didn't move, didn't breathe. "Alex?" Emma's voice cut through my shock. I saw your message," I whispered, barely able to speak. Emma blinked, confused. "Message? What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about," I snapped louder than intended. "Ryan! The one you've been spending so much time with." Her smile didn't falter. "Alex, calm down." "You're overreacting. It's just a message." "You're imagining things." "Imagining things? I just read it." My voice cracked. "It says you'll see him alone tonight. How is that innocent?" She leaned back, crossing her arms. "Alex, seriously, don't let jealousy ruin this. I didn't plan anything. You're twisting this in your head." I wanted to believe her, I really did, but the proof burned in my mind, vivid and undeniable. My vision blurred. "Twisting? I trusted you, Emma. I gave you everything." "Everything?" she asked softly, almost mocking. "You mean you gave me your trust? You're letting paranoia take control, Alex. Look at yourself." I couldn't stand it. I bolted from her apartment, the cold night air hitting me like reality. My phone slipped from my hand, buzzing again with messages from her. "Don't be upset. I love you. Please calm down. Love." Was it love? Or a lie wrapped in words I wanted to hear? I walked aimlessly until my phone rang. It was Sam, my oldest friend. "Alex? Where are you?" "You sound off." "I saw it, Sam," I said, voice shaking. "Everything. The messages. The lies. Whoa, slow down, come home. Let's talk." I didn't reply. I hung up, sat on the curb, and let the tears come. For the first time, I felt truly small, foolish, humiliated. I had opened my heart fully, and she had used it. Hours passed. I didn't move, didn't answer calls. When I finally got home, my brother was waiting. "Alex, I've been calling," he said, voice gentle but concerned. "What happened?" I shook my head. "Emma, it's over. She betrayed me." My brother didn't speak. He just put his hand on my shoulder. No words could fix this. I retreated further over the next days, isolating myself. The apartment felt hollow. The silence was deafening. I avoided calls, texts, anyone who reminded me of the world I'd trusted her with. Yet, in that solitude, a fire began to grow. Anger, humiliation, heartbreak, they all fueled a sharp clarity. I couldn't undo what happened, but I could control what came next. I began to plot quietly, envisioning the ways I could reclaim my life, not through rage alone, but through strategy, through patience, through taking back what was mine. Sam finally came over one evening. "You can't stay like this, Alex. You need a plan, something to focus on." "I know," I said, staring at the floor. I don't even know where to start. I feel used. You've always been smart, Alex. Use that. Don't let her ruin you. Let this be the start of something better." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat. He was right. I could either stay broken or rise stronger. I chose the latter. Late at night, I sat alone, writing notes, making lists, thinking about money, influence, respect, anything that would put me back in control. Each plan made my chest tighten with anticipation, a strange relief in the chaos of betrayal. I whispered to the empty room, "I won't be a fool anymore. She'll see. She'll regret this." For the first time, heartbreak transformed into determination. I realized that reclaiming my life wouldn't be easy, but it was mine to take. Slowly, painfully, I began to understand what it meant to fight back, not just for revenge, but for my dignity, my future, my peace. The night ended quietly, but inside me, a storm was gathering, one that she would never escape. I sat alone in my apartment, staring at the blank wall, feeling the weight of everything Emma had done. I could stay here, drowning in what I'd lost, or I could do something. I clenched my fists. I would not crumble. My phone buzzed. It was Sam. You okay? I will be, I said slowly. I've been thinking, maybe it's time I do more than just exist. Time to take control. Good, he said. You're stronger than this, Alex. Don't let her define you. I hung up and started making notes, drafting a plan for myself. Wealth, influence, respect, things she tried to manipulate me away from, things I needed to reclaim. The next morning, I met Mr. Carter, a mentor Sam had recommended. Alex, he said, shaking my hand, heard about your situation. Tough break, but tough times forge stronger men. I want to turn this around, I admitted. I want to be in control, to not let anyone manipulate me again. He smiled knowingly. Good, start small. Focus on skills, connections, strategy. Let your actions speak louder than your pain. I've already begun thinking about investments, opportunities, alliances, I said, excitement threading my voice. Smart, he said. Always plan 3 steps ahead. Watch, learn, adapt, and never let emotions cloud your judgment. Not yet, anyway. I nodded, feeling a spark of purpose. I realized I had been passive for too long, letting trust and emotion dictate my life. From now on, I would act deliberately. Later that evening, Sam stopped by. You look different, he said, noticing my posture, my expression. I feel different, I said. Pain taught me something. I can't control what she does, but I can control myself, my future. Exactly, he said. Start building. Small wins first. Show her and yourself that you're untouchable. I began reaching out to contacts, reconnecting with people I had ignored, and even making some cold calls I had been postponing. Each conversation, each plan, felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. Alex, are you sure you want to invest here? Asked Mr. Carter one day, looking over my notes. Yes, I said confidently. I've studied it. I know the risks, but I also know the potential. I won't let fear stop me. That's good, he said. Most people let fear dictate their choices. You're thinking like a man in control, not a man controlled by heartbreak. I smiled faintly, feeling pride for the first time in weeks. The plan was taking shape quietly, deliberately. I didn't need Emma's validation or approval. I only needed results. That night, I sat at my desk, reviewing contacts and connections. I'll start with Sam, Mr. Carter, a few key people in my circle, I muttered aloud. Every move counts. Every action is mine. I paused, staring at a photo of Emma on my phone from happier days. My heart still ached, but the pain was now fuel. I whispered, I won't let you or anyone hurt me like that again. I called Sam. Let's map out a strategy. I want to take steps that matter, not just quick fixes. Finally, he said, smiling through the phone. You're thinking like yourself again. I leaned back, letting the weight of my decision settle. I would focus on building myself quietly, strategically. Every small choice mattered. Every action would bring me closer to the man I wanted to be, unshakable, respected, untouchable. Tomorrow, I whispered to the empty room, I start for real. No more hesitation. No more weakness. It felt strange, comforting, and terrifying all at once. The heartbreak was still there, but it was no longer paralyzing. I was alive, and this time, I was in control. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a quiet thought lingered. When she sees what I've become, she'll realize she underestimated me. I smiled faintly, finally ready to take the first steps toward a future built entirely on my own terms. Alex, you've changed, Sam said during our lunch meeting. More confident, more calculated. It suits you. I've had time to think, I replied, stirring my coffee slowly. Time to stop letting emotions dictate my life. You mean Emma? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I smirked faintly. Partially. But this is bigger than her. I'm building something now that no one can take away. That evening I met with Mr. Carter to discuss investments. I see your portfolio is growing, he said approvingly. And your contacts. Smart moves? I've learned to choose wisely, I said. No rash decisions. Every step is calculated, he nodded. Good. That's how power grows. Subtly, quietly, until one day it's undeniable. As I left, I ran into Emma's friend Lara at a networking event. She smiled innocently. Alex, Long time no see? Lara, I said, keeping my tone neutral. How have you been? Oh, busy. Emma's been, well, she's still the same. I caught the small arrogance in her voice, the subtle pride. I smiled faintly. That's good for her. Inside, a part of me wanted to confront Emma directly, to expose her recklessness, but I shook the thought away. Patience would serve me better. Long-term satisfaction meant I wouldn't rush. I met with my new ally Jordan later that week. You're moving fast, he said, scanning the reports I'd prepared. I need to. Every day counts, I replied. This isn't just about wealth. It's about taking back control, proving I'm not someone to be toyed with. Jordan leaned back. I like it. Precision and patience. That's how we get results without losing our heads. Exactly, I thought. Every step mattered. Each calculated move strengthened my position, my reputation. The pain of betrayal had become fuel for measured progress. One evening, I saw Emma at a gallery opening, laughing with Ryan in that same careless way. My pulse spiked, but I stayed calm, blending into the crowd. She glanced my way, a flicker of recognition in her eyes. But she didn't approach. She had no idea how much I had changed, no clue that I was no longer the man she could manipulate with a smile. I whispered to myself, not yet. Patience, Alex. Let her arrogance become her downfall. Sam caught my eye from across the room. You're calm, he said. Good, that's the real power. I've learned, I replied. Strength isn't yelling or exposing. It's holding control, even when it hurts. Later, Jordan and I strategized quietly over coffee. Emma underestimates you, he said. Her friends, her circle, they're all oblivious. That's our advantage. Exactly, I said. We'll let them make mistakes while I build quietly. She won't see it coming. The thrill of control coursed through me. I had begun to understand the delicate balance between patience and action, between revenge and growth. Every calculated smile, every professional win was a step closer to reclaiming what she had broken in me. That night, I reviewed my contacts again, mapping alliances and opportunities. I'm not doing this for spite alone, I whispered to the empty room. I'm doing this to prove I'm unshakable. To myself first, then to everyone else. Even when I saw her later on social media, flaunting her careless lifestyle, I didn't react. I didn't need to. My rise was silent, deliberate, unstoppable. The contrast between her recklessness and my discipline was becoming painfully clear, even if she couldn't see it yet. Tomorrow, I murmured as I shut my laptop, we take another step. Every move counts. Every action is mine. For the first time since her betrayal, I felt truly in control. Not just over my life, but over my emotions, my destiny, and the silent power I was quietly amassing. And somewhere deep down, I smiled. Knowing the day she realizes what I've become will be far more satisfying than any confrontation I could force today. I saw her before she noticed me, standing in the lobby of the event hall, laughing with a man I didn't recognize. Emma. The same careless smile. The same arrogance. Only now I wasn't the same man she could toy with. Alex? She finally spotted me, her eyes lighting up with that familiar charm. I didn't expect to see you here. Neither did I said smoothly, stepping closer, keeping my voice calm. Oh, you look different, she said, tilting her head, a teasing note in her tone. Confident. I've been working on myself, I replied evenly. Focus, growth. Priorities have changed, she laughed lightly. Sounds serious. Are you always this intense now? Depends on who I'm talking to, I said, letting a faint smile linger. Some people deserve it. Her eyes flickered, briefly unsure. Wow, you're intimidating. Maybe, I said, carefully letting my gaze meet hers. Or maybe I'm just aware of who I am now. The man with her, who I later learned was named Ethan, looked between us awkwardly. Hello, he said, nervously extending a hand. Ethan, I said, nodding politely. Nice to meet you. Emma leaned in toward him, whispering something, then laughed. I noticed the subtle eye roll, the arrogance in her gesture, as if she was mocking without realizing it. I didn't react. I smiled faintly. I see you're enjoying yourself, I said calmly, planting the first seeds of my control. But remember, appearances can be deceiving. She raised an eyebrow, slightly irritated, but masking it with a playful grin. Oh, Alex, still cryptic, huh? You haven't changed that much. Some things are better kept mysterious, I said lightly. Ethan shifted uncomfortably, sensing the tension but unsure where it came from. Emma laughed again, brushing her hair back. You're full of surprises, Alex. I've learned to be, I replied. Life teaches quickly when you're willing to pay attention. Her flirtation felt forced now, almost desperate. She didn't recognize the transformation I'd undergone, the control, the quiet power that ran beneath my calm. You're different, she repeated softer this time. I mean, I didn't expect this side of you. I've always been here, I said, voice low. You just never took the time to see. She blinked, a flash of uncertainty crossing her features. Alec, yes? I asked, holding her gaze without flinching. You're intimidating, She faltered, her confidence slipping. I smiled faintly, feeling a strange thrill. Not the old exhilaration of love or infatuation, but the satisfaction of quiet control. She didn't know what I was capable of anymore. She didn't realize how far I'd come. I turned slightly, casually, letting my presence linger. Enjoy the night, I said. It's important to savor moments before they pass. She watched me puzzled, perhaps sensing the shift. Ethan looked even more confused, unsure why Emma's confident mask seemed to falter. I walked away slowly, letting the encounter settle in my mind. Heart still ached from the past, but the thrill of control, the calm dominance of knowing I was no longer vulnerable, was intoxicating. Later, I texted Sam, encountered her. She has no idea who I've become. His reply was immediate. Perfect. Patience, Alex, let her arrogance lead her. You're in control. I smiled faintly, my thoughts echoing in the quiet night. Every step I took now mattered. The heartbreak lingered, yes, but the power I felt eclipsed it. And deep down, I knew the day she realized just how much she'd underestimated me would be far sweeter than any confrontation I could force today. I walked into the office with a calm smile, shaking hands and exchanging pleasantries, while Emma's arrogance sat nearby, unaware that the tide was shifting. Alex, over here, she called, waving like nothing had changed. Emma, I said smoothly, nodding politely. I hear your presentation went well yesterday. Of course, she said with a confident laugh. Everyone loved it. I tilted my head slightly, my smile soft but deliberate. Funny, I've been hearing some mixed reviews from the clients. Surprising, isn't it? Her eyes flickered just a second, a crack in her flawless facade. I don't know what you mean. I leaned casually against the desk. Oh, just comments about incomplete data, missed deadlines. Little things. Little things? She repeated, voice rising slightly. I shook my head, softening my tone. Nothing serious. Just enough to question reliability. Her jaw tightened. I noticed her hands trembling as she gripped her notebook. I had planted the first seeds of doubt among her peers. Later, I met with a few of our mutual colleagues. Have you noticed discrepancies in her reports? I asked, innocently curious. One frowned. I did see some inconsistencies, but I thought it was nothing. Nothing? I said lightly. I just hate seeing talent wasted on sloppiness. I thought you'd agree. They nodded, hesitant but attentive. I let my charm mask the subtle manipulation. I was weaving a web, tightening without being seen. At lunch, I ran into my new friend, Clara. You look unstoppable, she said. I feel unstoppable, I admitted, glancing at my phone. Every move counts. Timing, patience, precision. Are you trying to ruin her? She asked cautiously. Not ruin, I said softly. Expose. Truth has a way of catching up. People see things eventually. I'm just giving them a nudge. She smiled faintly, understanding. It's satisfying to see justice in motion. The next day, I arrived at a media event where Emma was presenting alongside other colleagues. She noticed me immediately, her confident grin faltering slightly. Alex, you're here? She asked, masking unease with charm. Wouldn't miss it, I said smoothly, letting the subtle tension linger. I enjoy seeing people perform, though sometimes appearances deceive. She laughed nervously, glancing at the attendees who were now subtly observing her. A few colleagues exchanged whispered comments, casting furtive glances at her reports, her performance, her reputation. I kept my expression calm, detached. Heart still heavy, but the thrill of control surged quietly. This wasn't about cruelty. It was about balance, restoring the truth that she had tried to manipulate. Later, in a quiet corner, Clara approached. People are noticing cracks. Her allies are unsure and she doesn't know why. Exactly, I said, smiling faintly. She underestimates how quietly influence grows. She'll panic eventually, thinking she's still untouchable. Emma approached, forcing her usual charm. Alex, enjoying yourself? Always, I said softly, letting my calm presence speak louder than words. It's fascinating to watch confidence tested against reality. She frowned briefly, but maintained her mask. Confidence? Confidence, I said. Sometimes the truth has a way of changing perceptions. Her eyes narrowed slightly, sensing danger but still blind to the depth of my transformation. I walked away, leaving her to wonder, to worry, to sense that something was slipping beyond her control. Later, Clara whispered, You've done more in weeks than she could have imagined. She doesn't know how close the walls are closing in. I nodded, watching Emma across the room. She'll see soon enough. And when she does, she'll understand exactly what underestimation costs. The web was tightening, each thread deliberate, each move calculated. And I had never felt more in control, more alive, more ready to see the truth unfold. The room was buzzing when I arrived. A presentation, some high-profile clients, and the usual crowd of colleagues. Emma stood at the front, confident as ever, or so she thought. Alex, she called brightly, forcing a smile. Glad you could make it. Wouldn't miss it, I said smoothly, stepping into view. Looking forward to your talk. Her smile faltered for a fraction of a second. I noticed it. Good. Patience, Alex. Let it unravel naturally. As she began speaking, I casually handed a few files to some colleagues. Thought you'd like to see these, I said, smiling lightly. One of them, Laura, glanced at the documents, then raised an eyebrow. Wait, these show discrepancies in your recent projects, Emma. Discrepancies? Emma repeated, voice a little sharp. Yes, I said softly, just pointing out a few inconsistencies that might explain the client complaints. Whispers spread through the room. A few heads turned, others leaned closer, examining emails, reports, and presentations I'd subtly distributed. I don't know what you mean, she stammered, trying to maintain control. I think it's clear, I said, calm, almost detached. The truth tends to speak louder than charm or persuasion. Emma's hands shook slightly as she tried to gather her materials. Alex, this isn't fair, I smiled faintly. Life isn't always fair, but consequences, they're real. A client spoke up, holding one of the files. Emma, can you explain these errors? They seem significant, she faltered, glancing at me. I leaned back, letting silence do its work. The room filled with murmurs, subtle gasps, and shifting attention. Emma's confident mask was cracking, and I didn't need to say another word. Later, during a private discussion, a few colleagues approached me. Alex, we didn't realize the extent of the issues, one admitted quietly. Thank you for bringing them forward. I nodded. It's important to recognize problems early. Better to address them than let them grow. Emma tried to speak, but her voice sounded strained. You set me up. I shook my head calmly. I didn't set anything up. I simply made sure the truth reached the right eyes. That's all? She glared at me, humiliation written across her face. Alex, I trusted you. I trusted you too, I said softly, letting the quiet sting linger. And yet trust wasn't enough to prevent betrayal, the rest of the room whispered. Emma's social and professional standing crumbled before my eyes, but I remained composed. No theatrics, no outbursts. Just calm, quiet satisfaction. Later, alone in my office, I reflected. The thrill of control was intoxicating, but beneath it lingered a wound that hadn't fully healed. Betrayal leaves scars, even when karma arrives perfectly, Sam called. I saw it online. Wow, you stayed composed perfectly. She didn't even see it coming. Patience, I said softly. It's more satisfying this way. Let her unravel on her own. I imagine it hurts too, he said gently. It does, I admitted. Even now, seeing her like that, it's satisfying, yes, but the ache remains. Memories don't fade easily. I get it, he said. But you've proven something important. You're untouchable now. Not because you fought, but because you stayed in control. I leaned back, letting the tension ease slightly. The exposure had worked. The consequences were unfolding, and yet the wound remained a quiet reminder. Later, as I walked past the office floor, I caught her looking at me, desperate, humiliated, and realizing the depth of her mistake. My smile was calm, almost indifferent. She mouthed, "I didn't mean..." I kept walking, heart steady, mind clear. Words weren't necessary. Karma had done its work. She had underestimated me, and now she would live with the consequences, while I continued forward, rebuilt, stronger and unshakable. The thrill of control lingered. The heartbreak dulled slightly, and the lesson was clear. Betrayal is temporary, but patience and strategy are permanent. I asked Emma to meet me privately in a quiet cafe where no one could interrupt. She arrived, smiling as if nothing had changed. But I noticed the tension in her shoulders, the slight tremor in her hands. "Alex," she said, trying to sound casual. "Thanks for meeting me." "Of course," I said calmly, sipping my coffee. "I thought it was time we had a proper conversation." She laughed nervously. "Conversation? About what?" I set my cup down, keeping my gaze steady. "About choices, trust, and consequences." Emma's smile faltered. "Alex," I held up a hand. "Let me speak first. I've had time to reflect, to grow, to rebuild. And I realized something important. I don't need your validation. I don't need your approval. I don't need your lies anymore." Her eyes widened slightly. "Alex, you didn't what?" I asked softly. "Didn't realize you hurt me? Didn't realize your arrogance blinded you? Or didn't think I'd recover?" She swallowed, looking down. I made mistakes." I nodded slowly, calm, composed. "Yes, you did." And the consequences followed. Publicly, professionally, socially. Everything you took for granted has been exposed. Her gaze flicked up, desperate. "I didn't mean for it to go that far." I leaned back slightly, letting the silence stretch. "Intentions don't erase outcomes, Emma. You underestimated me. You thought I'd crumble, that I'd beg, that I'd plead. But here I am, stronger, independent, unshakable." Her lips trembled. I see that now." "Yes, you do," I said quietly. "And it's too late. The person you betrayed, the trust you destroyed. It can't be reversed." Emma's hands shook as she reached for the table. "Alex, I never wanted to hurt you." "I know," I said softly, almost pitying. "But you did. And now you must live with that knowledge." She looked at me, searching, as if trying to find a crack in my calm. I thought you'd stay the same." I thought the same once," I interrupted gently. "I thought you were perfect. I believed every word, every smile. I let myself be vulnerable." I paused, and I paid the price. But I chose to rise, not fall. To take control, not dwell in despair. Her eyes filled with tears. I never realized..." "Alex, I've realized enough for both of us," I said. "I've realized my strength, my worth, my ability to thrive without dependence on anyone who betrays me. I've realized that forgiveness isn't always necessary. Sometimes distance and growth are enough." She tried to reach for my hand. I pulled back slightly. "This isn't about punishment, Emma. It's about clarity. About showing you that life moves forward, whether you're ready or not." "And I am ready, completely." Her shoulders slumped. I see it. "I understand. I've lost more than I realized." I gave a faint, calm smile. "Yes, you have. And the best part? I'm free. Free from your manipulation, your arrogance, and your games. I don't hate you. I simply don't need you anymore." She nodded slowly, the weight of realization pressing down. "Alex, I'm sorry." "Words are no longer required," I said quietly. "Actions speak louder, and mine have already spoken. I've rebuilt, reclaimed, and risen. You'll remember this moment, not because I yelled or fought, but because I showed calm strength where you expected weakness." We sat in silence after that. She, humiliated and reflective. Me, composed and empowered. No dramatics, no confrontation, just the quiet, undeniable superiority of someone who had suffered, learned, and emerged unbroken. As I walked out of the cafe, I whispered to myself, "I'm done." Stronger, wiser, untouchable. I stood at the edge of the balcony, watching the city lights flicker like 1,000 tiny promises. The air was crisp, carrying a quiet reminder that life keeps moving, whether we're ready or not. Sam's voice buzzed in my ear. "You okay, Alex?" "I am," I replied softly, leaning against the railing. "I've been through enough to understand what really matters. And I finally see it clearly." "There's a calm in your voice," he said. "I can hear it. You're..." "Different. I am," I admitted. Stronger, smarter, more aware. I don't let emotions control me anymore. I've reclaimed what was mine, not possessions, not status, but my mind, my heart, my peace. Later, I met Clara for coffee. You look at ease, she said, scanning my expression. I didn't know you could feel this calm after everything. Calm comes from acceptance, I said. I've learned that bitterness only weighs you down. I can respect the past without being chained to it. That's what growth feels like, she smiled softly. It suits you, really, I nodded. It does, I finally understand myself. Every betrayal, every heartbreak, it shaped me, but it didn't define me. I chose how to respond. I chose strength. The memories of Emma's betrayal still lingered like faint shadows at the edge of my mind. But instead of pain, they carried lessons. Lessons in trust, discernment, and resilience. You're not going to dwell on her? Clara asked cautiously. No, I said firmly. The chapter is closed. I've faced her, exposed the truth, and reclaimed my life. Holding on to anger would only hurt me, not her. Closure comes from within, not from her actions. Later that week, I ran into Sam again. Feeling unstoppable? He asked, half joking. I chuckled softly. Unstoppable is the wrong word. I feel free. Free from expectations, free from manipulation, free from the weight of what I once thought I needed. You've grown, he said. The old Alex would have crumbled. And the old Alex isn't coming back, I replied. Not now, not ever. I'm wiser, independent, ready for the next step in life without needing validation from anyone who doesn't value me. I walked through the park in the evening, feeling the wind on my face. The city's noise felt distant, almost insignificant. I thought of Emma one last time, not with anger, but with clarity. I hope you learn, I whispered quietly. I hope the consequences teach you what you ignored. But this isn't about you anymore. This is about me. A soft smile crossed my face. I felt a sense of satisfaction, not revenge, not triumph, but the calm assurance that I had grown stronger than my past. Later, I met Jordan to discuss future plans. You're looking ahead now, he said. I am, I replied. Plans, goals, relationships built on honesty and respect. That's what matters. I've learned to invest my energy wisely. He nodded. And Emma? I shook my head gently. She's part of the past. A lesson, not a life sentence. I've moved on emotionally, psychologically, completely. Walking home that night, I felt a quiet pride. Every scar, every sleepless night, every tear had led to this moment. I wasn't broken anymore. I was whole, independent, and capable of anything I chose. Life, I whispered to myself, is mine again. Every choice, every step forward belongs to me, and I will honor it fully. The city lights shimmered, reflecting in my eyes, not as distant dreams, but as the reality I'd built. Stronger, wiser, free. I had moved on, and for the first time in a long while, I truly felt alive.